Okay, today we are going to be covering the DocuSign transaction rooms. I know lots of you guys have kind of been in here and messed around and started doing your transactions, but we're just going to go through the process again just to make sure everybody's got it down. For DocuSign transaction rooms, everything is done through realestate.docusign.com. In here, you'll be able to create your file, type up all your forms, and send anything out for e-signature as well. So you can kind of do everything that you would need for the transaction inside of here. So once you go ahead and log in, the first step, if you've not set up your account, is just making sure that your account is set up. You do that under the My Account tab in the right-hand corner, and then you'll click on Settings. Inside your settings, you'll have your profile. It does give you a note here, and I try to point this out as well. Make sure that this information in your profile is up to date, just because this is what other members will see. So you want to make sure that they have your correct contact information. The most important parts under your settings is your DocuSign e-signature settings. You'll need to make sure that your DocuSign.net account is linked right here. This will allow you to send out any envelopes for signatures. And then the other most important thing is under integrations. You will need to link your username and password in here for zip forms as well, so you can pull in any of your documents and be able to type on them and send them out. After your account is set up, we'll click back over to the My Dashboard. Your dashboard is basically just like a snapshot kind of what your business is currently. So your most recently viewed transactions is just that. It's anything that you've recently looked at. Your envelope activity is a snapshot of anything that you've recently sent out for signatures. So you can see that this 1234 Main Street was signed on November 12th at 12:02 p.m. Or you can see this one, we ended up voiding this one out. It was 126. So just a little snapshot of what things are going on without having to dig inside of each envelope to see what's happening. And then your document activity is any document that you've emailed into your transaction. So I will touch on this when we get to that point, but you are able to email or send documents straight from your email into the transaction rooms without having to download and upload. So if someone sends you a purchase agreement or something, you can go ahead and forward it straight into the transaction room, and then it'll be in here for you to process. Most everything that you guys are going to do, just creating your files or transaction rooms, is going to happen under the Transactions tab, which is across the top. When inside your transaction tab, you will see all of your currently active transactions listed here. But to create a new one, you'll go up to New in the right-hand corner, and it'll bring up where you'll type in your property address. You will not see this room owner section. This is just because we're currently in an admin account. Everything will be linked to your account and your account only. So we'll go ahead and list Main Street again. And for this purpose, when you select your side, you will be the real estate agent. Real estate broker is an option, but real estate broker within this program is geared towards the managing broker and not this. So real estate agent is the role you would select when you're talking about yourself, and then you would select the side of the transaction. So this 9876 Main Street, is this for a listing or is it for a buyer? So today we'll say this is for a listing. You can add a picture of the house if you would like to, and then you'll go ahead and you just click Create. After you've created your transaction room or folder, you will be now inside of this folder. So this is where you will build out the whole transaction. So you'll be able to add any documents you would need throughout the whole transaction into this folder. You can add the people, so that would be your clients, your other agent when you get to the pending, any of that and such. And then the envelopes tab is where you go ahead and you send things out for signature. So as agents, The tabs that you guys are basically going to use would be your documents, the people, and the envelopes, and we'll actually work through them in that order. So when you create your folder, it'll always open into the documents tab. So you'll start there, and then as we progress, we just progress to the right. So to go ahead and add our documents, we will add in the right-hand corner. If you're ever having trouble finding where the call of action is, throughout the program, most of the call of actions are up in the right-hand corner. So if you just look to the right, that's usually where you're going to be. That's where you're going to create envelopes. That's where you're going to add documents. That's where the ads or the new transaction is going to be to create the actual transaction file. So always kind of look to your right. So to go ahead and add the documents, we'll click the Add button. If we already have the documents saved on our computer, we can pull them from the computer. If we do not, we can pull them right out of zip forms. Since we went ahead and linked our zip forms in here, we'll just go ahead and select zip forms. If perchance we had already typed these forms in zip forms, we would just check this box and click link, and it's going to pull the documents that are within this file into the transaction room. Since we've not done that, today we'll go ahead and just create a new one. So we'll go ahead and click create. It'll automatically pull in the address and that it's a listing, and then we'll go ahead and select the property type.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we've got a question.
Okay, right now when you, if someone sends you something to be signed and it's in DocuSign, this is where you add it from the computer?
Mm-hmm.
That's where it would come from then?
Yep, you could add it right into the transaction or right on the documents where I just was, or you could email it in and put it in the transaction.
Okay.
Yes.
So for instance, if you have a file set up and you go to add something from zip forms, like for instance a counter.
Okay.
When I go in to add forms documents in my zip form library, counter's not an option. Like if I want a blank counter.
I'll have to look at your exact account. Or Stacy, can you glance at hers real quick, because it should be there. Okay, so now that we have said we're going to create, we will select that we're going to pull the forms from our zip forms library. It's then going to open up any zip forms library that your account is linked to. So you can pull, this one's the company one, the BLC, the IAR commercial or IAR residential. So for this purposes, we'll just pull from the BHHSIN library. So we'll go ahead and pull a listing contract since we're going to pretend we're listing a property. So you would just select the box next to every document that you would need to list the house. Once you have done so, you just go ahead and click Add. And then it will pull the documents into your file per se. Some people have been convinced that, have been confused that when we talk about transaction rooms, so I've kind of started calling them files. It's basically a virtual file is what it is. So think of it as it's your same old Manila folder. So now in our Manila folder, we've put our listing contract in here. So now that we've put the listing contract in here, the next thing to do is just go ahead and fill it out. To do that, all you have to do is open it, and it's going to look exactly like it does inside of zip forms. So you can just go ahead and start filling out any information that you need and that you would need to list the house, and then you would go up to save just as you did in zip forms. Once you've saved, let's see if we can move this. There is a gray X up in the corner. You'll X out. Just going to let you know you're going back to the forms, and then you would go down the line and just fill out every form. So your sales disclosure, if you need an acknowledgement form, any of those types of forms that you would need to list this house, you would go ahead and add them now. Once you've built out all of your documents, so you have every document in here that you need to list the house, the next step is to move one tab to the right and select the people. Here is where we will add in, at this point, we would just be adding in our sellers. As we went into pending, we could add the other agent, a lender, anybody who we would need to add. But this is the tab where you will keep track of everybody who's a part of this transaction. Okay, we've got a question in the room.
If you complete the people after the document, does it go back and reload into the document? Is that not reversed?
It will fill.
Will it go back like you already just filled out the listing contract, and now you come in and plug in the people? Will that go back into the listing contract?
No.
Okay, so you really maybe should do people first?
The people is basically, this is creating them an account to give them access. This people tab doesn't actually link to the documents at all.
So does this have?
So when we're under the documents tab, we would have filled out everything like we would have, and it would pre-fill. The people tab will be sending them a link to open up their account and have access to the document.
Does this have the covered form, the IAR realtor covered form that's in zip forms?
Yeah, anything that you would have in zip forms, you would have access to in
just
here.
Go ahead and fill that out,
Yep.
and then that'll auto-populate.
Okay. Yep. So the people tab is linked to, basically, this is where we're going to be sending a link to our clients so that they can set up an account. And then when they log in, they will see all of this and any documents that we've shared with them as well. For this purpose, we'll just go ahead and add myself.
So you're adding yourself like a seller, like you're the seller.
I am pretending that I am the seller, correct. So here, we're under the role, we'll select this role for me in this case. I'm going to be the seller on the list side. And then we'll go ahead and invite. One thing that I think is important, I've had some people say that their clients say that they can't view the documents or any of that nature. When you go into the people tab, you do want to make sure that it looks like this. I have already activated my account, so I do have the blue silhouette. If it is a paper plane, that means that they've not clicked the link to activate their account yet. So that can be kind of your quality check right there, is when you click on the people tab. If it's still a paper plane, that just means that your client has not activated their account. Another thing that we have come across as well is you cannot correct or change the email address once you send it out. So if, let's say I added myself and I accidentally put in the wrong email address, I would need to open this and click remove and go ahead and remove myself, and then just go in and re-invite with the correct email address. Once this has been sent out, we don't have access to, right here. Well, if I'd click the right spot, to change any of this. So it's all stuck. You would just click remove and then re-invite with the correct address.
Michael, you sent it to an incorrect address. It's not existent.
No, it will not. It's not going to bounce back at you. I don't know if you guys could hear that. The question was, if we, let's say I just sent this to myself and I miskeyed the email address, it's not going to kick back at you and let you know that that's a non-email address. It's just going to send out and end up in la la land out there. So definitely follow with your clients and make sure that they did receive it. If not, then you would just go remove it and re-add them. Once you've successfully added all of your clients or anybody that's a part of this transaction at this point to the People's tab, you can move towards the Envelopes tab, and this is where you will do your e-signature. So the envelopes are always kind of like sending something in the mail. This is how you're going to send something to your client for them to sign, and then it will come back to you. So to start the envelope, you do create. Again, it's up in the right-hand corner. You'll do your envelope name, which does appear back in this area after we've sent it out. Some people have been naming the envelope name, maybe their client's name, and you can do whatever I guess is best for you. I've seen throughout the ways, the more envelopes you build, the more obviously you're going to have a cross here. So it's easier from a management perspective. I see it as if you name the envelope kind of what the documents you're sending out, so that when you come back in here and you see it at a glance, you don't have to open each single envelope to see what you've sent out. So now I will know when I come back in here that this is the listing contract. I can see exactly when it came back to me. Whereas if all of them were named the client's name, I would have to open every single envelope and see what document that was and when it went out and when it came back and that. So this is just like a snapshot of when I sent things without having to go through that extra step of opening it. So your first line would be your envelope name. Your second line is actually going to be the subject of the email your client receives. So if you wanted to add more here, you can go ahead and do that. It's not going to portray back up to the envelope name, but this can get a little more specific if you want to give a little more detail to your clients of what they're actually receiving.
So like the property address.
Yep. So if you wanted to on the subject part, you could add the property address. You could put listing contract and then put their name, whatever you wanted them to see on that side. So this will be what you would see in your envelopes. This is what they will see.
So under the subject, does that automatically auto-populate this contract or whatever?
Yes, it's going to auto-populate from that. But then from there, if you change this, it's not going to change that one. So it will auto-populate down, but you do not have to keep it that way.
You could call that, it doesn't have to say list contract.
Nope.
You could put anything,
Yeah, you can put anything here.
just like.
And as long as there is a subject, you can always change that. And then the message would be the body of the email. So if you wanted them to get a message with the documents, this would be what they will see. I will say if you're sending this to several different parties, this message goes to everyone. It's not just one person. So if you have a lender and all of that, and you want to make sure that you know that every single person that this envelope goes to will see this message. Once you've prepped that, we'll just go ahead and add the documents we need to send out. So you could come in here and you'll just check the box next to every document you need to send. Just because documents fall on this list doesn't mean that you have to send them out. So if there's 20 documents here and you only want to send the listing contract, then all you have to do is click the listing contract box. We'll save that. And then right after that, you just add who you're sending it to.
You saved it, you just saved that just
now? Uh-huh. Yep. So here we're gonna, since I'm the seller, we'll check the box next to me, and then you will select an action. So we are going to require me to sign this document. If we want Glenda to sign it as well on the as the broker or the agent, we can do that as well, and we'll just select that and save. Here,
You make more than one sign and acknowledge receipt and everything else.
Yep. I will point out the recipient order. Since they're both set at 1 right now, it's going to send this document to me and Glenda for signatures at the exact same time. So if you want me to sign it first and then Glenda to sign it second, then you would change that order. So now it's going to send to me. The second that I send it, Glenda is going to receive that signed document, and then it's going to require her to sign. So if you had certain clients where the husband, for one reason or another, wants to sign first and then the wife, you would just change your recipient order. Or if you want all parties to get it at the same time, you just keep all of them at 1. In this case, we'll say, I'm going to sign. The second that I sign, it will go to Glenda to sign after that.
Does it merge them?
Merge them as in?
Well, one gets it and the other gets it.
Yes. So if you have them all set as 1 and you have 5 different parties signing, when you get the final document, it's going to have all the signatures on it. But let's say we send it to Patty Morton and Jack Carboyd. When you guys both see it, the only signature you're going to see is yours.
Even if he's already signed it,
she would just see hers, you would just see yours. But whenever it comes back to whoever sent it out, all of the signatures would be there. I will point this out too. This message next to the recipient is a private message. So if you wanted to send to me a private message and then you had another person you didn't want to see that message, you could go ahead and add that here.
Going back to the order of signing, say you've got 4 people signing and it goes to number 1 and 2 and 3 is nowhere to be found. It will never go to number 4.
It will not do it. It won't go to the following number until the first actions take place. So if you have 4 people signing and it gets stuck at number 3 because let's say they're out of town or they just haven't signed it yet, number 4 will not get that until number 3 completes that task.
Call that back so we can get number 4's signature.
We would have to just send a different envelope and change the routing order. So unless you're really calling for a specific order, the only time I really change this is when you want the agent, like if the agent's signing, because you probably want to make sure your seller signed it correctly and all of that before it comes back to you. Otherwise, if you're just sending to 2 sellers, you can just leave it all at 1 and it's going to receive them all at once. Yes.
Okay, if you did send it to 4 people and you send them all as 1,
Mm-hmm.
3 signed and 1 didn't, would you eventually get the copy with the 3 signatures
No.
on it?
And you will not get the envelope back until all tasks that you have put on that envelope are complete.
So it doesn't make any difference if it's stopped after the first couple or just somebody's missing.
Mm-hmm.
It won't come
So
back.
you will not get the envelope back until every single task that you have set up on there is complete. So
if they all sign individually, we'll send it out all at the same time and we get 3 of them back. Will all 3 signatures appear on the one we get back, or will they be on?
see, you actually will not. You'll get updates when they sign, but you will not physically get a document back until all of them have signed.
Say we're sending it to just 3 then, and we send them at the same time. Will we get a document back that has all 3 signatures, or will we get a document back that has a signature on each page?
You would get one document back that would have all of the signatures. So this document right here that we're sending out will not come back into this DocuSign account signed until I've signed it and until Glenda's signed it. So if we send this out right now and I go ahead and sign it, and then Glenda doesn't sign it during this training class, it's not going to come back until she physically goes and signs it.
So if you have a wrong email for somebody, and it's just in La La Land, you'll never get that.
Nope, you'd have to make sure you had the correct email and send it out to that. Yes.
In personal DocuSign accounts, you used to be able to send a reminder email. If it got stuck somewhere in the middle, like the husband was doing something and got busy, and I could remind just the husband because the wife signed it like 2 hours ago.
I think
Can
we
you
can
do that in here?
We'll touch on that in a minute. I think we can do that in the next step. So once you've added all of your recipients and the routing order that you would like to go, you'll just click next up in the right-hand corner. And here,
Can I ask, back up to that, so it makes really no difference whether everybody's one or it's 1, 2, 3, 4, because it gets stuck at one.
basically, unless you had a certain case where you needed someone to sign before someone else signed, you can leave them all at one. The assigning role tab, this is just going to pre-fill the signatures for you. So for those of you who have used DocuSign before, you know when you load a document in, you have to go to the right-hand side, or the left-hand side, excuse me, and drag your signature blocks down. This, if you pre-fill this, so if we go ahead and select Glenda as the real estate agent and myself as the seller, anywhere on the document that it's requiring a seller to sign, it's going to automatically drag that down for me, so I don't have to do that step. Same thing with the listing agent. Since we marked Glenda as the listing agent, it's going to auto drag her signature line down there too. Yes, correct. If it is not a zip forms form, so if you added an external PDF that was not part of the zip forms part, it will not pre-fill that. It's only going to pre-fill something that's zip forms.
Would you show just where you went into this box one more time?
Yep, actually I just clicked next and it will automatically pop up. If you don't want to pre-fill, you don't have to, then you would just do your regular drag and drop like you usually do on DocuSign.net. So it's just a one-step saver. So this is just confirming right here that anywhere that it's calling for the list agent to sign, it's automatically going to assign Glenda. And anywhere it's calling for seller one, it's automatically going to assign myself. So now it's going to open up a quick preview for us so we can make sure that it's correct. And now in the, hold on, let me move this box out of the way. In the corner over here, you can see this is just a little overview. Any page that's tabbed yellow is where it's showing you it's already requiring someone to sign. You do have the full functionality of regular DocuSign.net. So if, let's say, you wanted me to initial every single page, you could still grab an initial and drop it. So you don't have to do exactly what it did. Or if you accidentally put the wrong or assign the wrong roles, you can go in and delete these and redo them. So again, if let's say we want my full name here, since I didn't type it in earlier, we can go ahead and drag that in. It'll fill that out. So you do have the full functionality of regular DocuSign. One thing I want to point out that I've come across recently as well is, as you can see here down in the left-hand corner is the send button. If you're sitting in your account going through this with us right now and your send button is up here in the right-hand corner and it's green, that means that you are on a free account and you're not on our company account. So you'll want to make sure that you get with me and we can get you onto the company account so you don't have to worry about paying for DocuSign yourself. So again, if you're on the company account, your send button will always be down in the lower left-hand corner. Now that we've seen that all of our signatures are correct, we've built everything out as we want to, we'll just go ahead and click send. You can do a quick preview if you want to, or you can just send anyway. And it's going to just give us a congratulations, it's been sent out. And now we're back inside the transaction room. So we can see when we sent this out, the second that I would go ahead and sign this and then Glenda would go ahead and sign this, this is going to be green and it's going to say signed across it with the date as well. So as I was saying earlier, you can kind of see how this says like list contract, where if we would have put just the client's name, then we would see their name. So then when we send them the purchase agreement and a counteroffer, then if we did their name, this next one would just say their name. So when it comes back in, we wouldn't be able to tell exactly what it is. So it is not mandatory you do it that way. I just think it's more user-friendly and gives you a quick overview of what you have sitting in here so you know what's been signed and what hasn't been signed. Do we have any questions on the just creating the documents and sending them out for signatures. Okay.
This is more of a comment I just ran in, and it might just be a personal situation for us. Our account's under the Boyd team, and when I wanted him to sign something, it wanted him to sign the Boyd team. And I noticed yesterday when I hit go back, it takes in the document for the signatures, it takes me back to what you see in normal DocuSign, where there's like the signer's name, their email, what have you. I was able to alter that.
Okay.
And put his name in.
Okay.
So then at least when he signed, it said Jack Carboy versus the Boyd team. That was just a side note.
Okay. I don't know if everybody out there heard that, but she was saying that whenever they went to go sign it, since they are as a team and their account was set up under a team name, it wanted them to sign as the Boyd team instead of Jack Carboy. And she was able to click back, and then it takes you into what would look like the DocuSign.net side, and she was able to edit that so it would say his name and not the Boyd team. So if any of you guys have that issues, give me a call and I can look at our company side as well and we can change the name on that. Yes.
Okay, if you're sending documents out and your signee is not at their computer and they're at someone else's house.
Yep.
Can you go back out to that site and send it to a different person's email so they can go in through that email and sign? I know we can in DocuSign.
So you would just change the email address that you sent theirs to.
But you can do that.
You could do that way also.
That way.
Yeah. Yes.
In
Correct.
DocuSign, I didn't know if you could. You can
Yeah.
in zip forms. Okay. So if you found out you had a wrong email account for someone, couldn't you just go in and change it there?
You could, but I don't know. People who haven't used DocuSign.net, it would be a lot of extra steps to get them into that site and edit that. If you have that knowledge, yes, you can go ahead and do that. But if someone's not used DocuSign, I guess I could walk them through that, but I think that's going to be a more steps than just clicking remove and resending it. But yes, you are correct.
So having never used the DocuSign before, what are the advantages of DocuSign over the Zip Logic?
So the advantages of the transaction rooms is this is all of our storage. This is where all your files will sit, and you can do everything that you would need, from typing up your files to sending it to your clients to sending it to lenders to anything, right inside of this one portal. So no matter where you're at, you always have access to everything. It's basically a cloud storage base for all of our documents.
And then, for instance, if we called the office, somebody from the desk could get in.
Yes, as well.
Right?
Correct.
So, I mean, if I needed Laura to send me something.
Yep. Or if you are out on the go, you could just log into this and send. You could really type up a counteroffer on your phone and send it out to your clients right inside of this. Let me see. Sorry. Let's see if I've got anybody online have any questions before I go into some other features of DocuSign. Okay, so that's the basis of creating your file per se, and adding your documents and sending them out for signatures. Again, once they're signed, they will come back in here. Under the Documents tab, the original will always stay here. So when it comes back and signed, we'll see listing contract. It'll have a green check mark on it and say signed, and it'll be a locked PDF, so it will not be editable anymore. So that's kind of how you know that everything's been signed, is it's all right there. You'll have your green check marks. You can go ahead once you've done that. Let's say we've typed this and we've got it back signed, so we don't want 2 copies. You can click the blue check mark on the doc and then just go up and delete it out of there, so you don't have to see multiple copies depending on how you like to keep your files.
And can we delete files from this ourselves if they're already signed and we want to make revisions?
Can you delete?
Let's say you have, you've got an offer with 16 counteroffers. If you just want to rewrite the entire thing into one offer, are all those things already on there and they can't be removed?
You as an agent have access to delete paperwork out of the file. So you take the paperwork out of the file. The file as a whole, you do not have access to delete. So let's say you created this listing contract and we mutual release 3 months down the road. You cannot just get rid of that so you don't see it, or let's say you create the listing contract and then you never end up listing that house. It will sit there until you let the staff know. Only admin people have access to delete the actual file. So think of it as like you could take documents out of your regular paper file, but that file itself you cannot get rid of. So if you had a test file, or a file that, again, you didn't list something or something happened with that, you could go ahead and just shoot the staff an email or give them a call and they can delete the actual transaction room. But the paperwork inside, you should have access to delete that. So like you said, you have 16 counteroffers and you want to just write up a new purchase agreement, send that out, have everybody sign that, and then just delete all those, and the new purchase agreement is going to reflect all those changes or all those counteroffers. You would have access to do that. But the file as a whole, nothing would change with that.
And how do you do it?
A document?
Yeah.
It depends on who adds the document to the transaction room.
Because his question was like, what happens if you have a house that has 2 or 3 offers
all the way through.
throughout the course of its life? You know, something falls through at one point, then you get purchase agreement number 2.
Okay.
And you don't want to confuse it with purchase agreement number 1.
So to delete a document, again, it depends on who added the document. You either double click on it, it'll bring this list down, and the very last option would say delete, or you will click this blue box in the corner, check, and then your options across the top will, and you just trash can that. On Becky's point as well, if you had 16 counteroffers and you didn't want to rewrite the purchase agreement, but you didn't want to look at all those 16 counteroffers, you could go ahead and check the box next to all of those documents and click combine, and you could combine them into one document that would say counteroffer. So it would look exactly like this, but when you opened it, it would be 16 pages long. So you wouldn't have to physically see 16 documents sitting in front of you.
Okay, and then do these things go to admin as soon as they're entered here, or do we have to physically send them to admin?
So you would just go ahead after you've got it. Let's say this is listed. You're ready to have them put it on the market or put the listing in the computer.
Say more of an offer. Let's work with an offer.
Okay. So if you're turning in a pending, per se,
Okay.
you would just shoot an email up to the processing or give them a call and just say, I've got a pending at 9876 Main Street. Can you go ahead and process that? And then they can log in and take it from that next point.
Until that time, we could get rid of the file, we could get rid of anything, and it's only after it goes to admin.
Nope, you cannot ever get rid of a file. That's just a quality control, because let's say this is on the market and you're accidentally in here and you accidentally click delete. I mean, we're currently still keeping paper files, but should we not have that, all of that paperwork would be gone. So that's why it's locked down to just the admin. But if you do have a file in there that needs to go, you just send them an email as well, and they can log in and delete that so that you don't have to look at it. And on Katie's point as well, she was saying if you have, let's say, multiple offers and you want to delete things so you don't get confused, at the same point, if you wanted to keep those just to keep in the file, you could combine all of those documents for that first offer that didn't work out and just call it like offer rejected or whatever, just so you had the paper trail if you wanted to. And then it would show up as one document right here, and right here it'd say offer failed or whatever. So you wouldn't have to delete it.
Purchase agreement and all the counters and everything that then fell apart.
Yep.
Into one.
Here, let me.
So we have three offers, let's say. God, that'd be nice. And if you wanted to keep those files, when you go up to combine, you can give that a name like Jones.
Yep.
And then the other one would be a combine, and it'd be something else.
Yep. So I'll actually just walk through that process real quick. So let's say we've got an offer, and then this is page 7 signed, and you want page 7 and the offer in one document instead of having them separate. You would just check the boxes next to them, click combined, and it's showing you here we're taking these 2 documents and combining them into one new document. So you could call it, and then you click save. Oh, I guess I need to, oh, it's because it's not signed. Let me do this real quick.
So if you wanted to send the purchase agreement to the lender, that's what you would do. You would combine them all.
Yep.
And put complete transaction, and then you could email it just as one email.
Yep. So let's say we've got, this is the purchase agreement, and then this is page 7. You would just select the boxes, click combined, and then do that, and it'll go ahead and save. It will leave these 2 here, and then it'll combine your completed PAE. So your other 2 are here, but now if you don't want those anymore, because now they're combined into one, you would just go ahead and select those boxes, delete those out of here, And now you've got your completed PA sitting right here.
Can you combine
Yes. Same thing as what she's talking about. Let's say you,
or if
someone sends you a
something,
purchase
yeah.
agreement, sales disclosure, and lead-based paint all in one file. And now we've got it sitting right here, and we don't want it all in one file. We want the purchase agreement, the sales disclosure, lead-based paint. You would just go ahead and right-click on it and click Split. It's going to do similar to what we just did combined. It's going to take a minute to load all this, but it'll bring up all of our pages. And on the side, we'll just build out our file. So let's say we're going to do purchase agreement, sales disclosure, and lead-based paint. So you would just go through, and now, so that I check this box, you have your drop-down number. So it's saying that this document is it's gonna put it in file 1. So we'll put these in file 1, these in file 2, and we'll throw this one in file 3 per se.
So if you've got some acknowledgement thrown in there, then you
Yep.
can take that out.
You can take it out. So you can combine and you can split. So now it's showing that everything that's marked as a 1 is going to be now called a file with purchase agreement. Everything that's marked 2 would be the sales disclosure, and everything that's 3 would be the lead-based paint. And once you've selected all those, you just click Save. And it's going to split it out into 3 documents. Again, it's going to leave the original here, but now we've got 3 new documents. So if we wanted to, now we don't want this one anymore, you just check that box, delete it out of here, and you've got your cleaned up documents. So you can combine and you can split.
And then you go to actions to email.
You don't even need to email. The staff will be able to get into it. So you just,
If you want, if we want to
let's say you want to email, you just want to email the sales disclosure because someone wants to write an offer. You can just check this box, and then email is an option that comes right here. You'll just type in their email, and then this would be the subject, and they're going to receive it as a PDF. So if you're on the go, someone calls you about Main Street, they need the sales disclosure because they're writing an offer, you could just get on your phone, pull it up, type in their email address, and send it, and it's going to send that right to them.
Do they need to be a person in that transaction?
They do not. So if I know we've had some people say they don't want to add, let's say, the lender as a person to the transaction because they're worried about he might be able to see too much. You could just select the purchase agreement right here and email, and maybe the people tab, you only keep you and your clients. That's more of a comfort level based. I will say.
But can you just send that to that random person for a signature?
This will not send for a signature. This is they're going to get a sealed PDF copy. That's all it's going to be right here. For a signature, you would have to go through the envelopes
They'll
tab.
have to be a
Yes. What was I don't remember what I was going to say now. Oh, under here, each document is a kind of another quality control. You can see the people with access. As you can see right now, like if we click on all of these, Glenda's going to be the only person that has access to it. So you would be able to see every person in here. And let's say you wanted me to have access to this, you just check that box. Or if you accidentally gave me access, or let's say this is the lender and you accidentally gave them access, you can just go ahead and uncheck that box. And now they no longer see that in their documents. So that is another quality control. Obviously, anything you send out for signatures, those people, you don't have to share that with them. But let's say I added, I don't even know, a PDF in here and I didn't send it out for signatures, you would have to share that with someone for them to see it. So just because there's documents in here and there's people inside this transaction doesn't mean that the people get to see all of the documents. You have to physically give them access to every document that you'd want them to see.
And vice versa, like if our clients use it for a personal
Correct.
business, they would have, we can't see what they put in.
Correct. So if your client throws in some of their mortgage paperwork or whatever in here, or a will or a deed or whatever they have, it'll be private on their side until they share it with someone. So until they shared it with their lender or they shared it with you for one reason or another, you wouldn't see things that they added in there as well until it was shared with you.
Can you, or do you plan on going through to let us see what it looks like when they receive it, what steps they're going through?
I did that with a client yesterday.
So user-friendly for her?
It's very user-friendly.
Yeah,
She
I
did
think
on
it
her
is, but I
phone
think
right
it
in
would
front of
be
me.
a benefit. So if someone's calling us and saying, oh, what am I supposed
What
to
do
be
I do?
doing? What am I looking at? It'll be nice to see what they're seeing.
Let's see. So they're going to get this document that says, I put the subject right here, which we did, said please sign. So they'll just come down. It tells you who it's coming from. Review document. They're going to select the box that says they agree to electronically sign and push continue. and then they're just going to click start, and it's going to tab them through every place that they need to sign. So if they needed to sign or initial on every page, they would click start, and it would take them through all of the pages. And then to sign, they literally just click on the sign, and then they can either adopt like if I wanted to change my signature style, I can select this one, whatever they prefer. If you're doing it on your phone, it will actually pull up a thing and you can physically sign with your finger or a stylus as well. So you just click adopt and sign, and then finish. And now it says that your account has sent it off. And then if we go to, then if we go under e-signatures, we can click the activity button. It hasn't updated yet, but it'll show us in there when I signed it as well. So now that I've signed it, it will be sent to Glenda to sign. And once Glenda would sign it, it will come back into the room.
And when I first invited my client, I watched her. She had to like go in and fill some stuff out.
Yeah.
I mean, she had to put in a password and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yep. So basically, you guys all set up your accounts on our company account where it just basically pulled in your email address, you typed in your name and a password. Your client, when you send them under the people, they're going to go through that exact same process to create an account here, because then they'll be able to log in anytime they want and see any documents that have been sent to them.
And they cannot sign until they've created that account, is that correct?
Correct.
And then does this have the idiosyncrasies like the zip forms where if someone signs, if I open it up on my phone, it shows no signature, but if I open it up on the computer?
I have not come across that, no.
Not this one.
Mm-mm.
I've only had that on zip form.
Yeah. So let's see if it, and now you can see if you go under the details tab, it does show you activity of everything that's ever been done in the room. So you can see that I signed this contract time-stamped again. So, and then once Glenda would sign it, that would be another line item in here.
And does it automatically change the time when we change the time? When we go into daylight savings?
Correct. It will always reflect the current time. So if your client, let's say your client's in California, it's not going to reflect 1:43 p.m. It's going to reflect their time.
Their time.
It is.
Does that print to the document,
Just what?
proof of signature, so that?
So what it will do is the second that it's signed, it will actually throw a certificate for that document in here as well.
But it's
So-
only for us to see.
Yes, only for you to see.
So-
Unless you share, if a lender asks for it, you could go in and share it with them or what, any of that
You
nature.
can share the proof of signature.
It comes in a sealed PDF.
And then there's usually like a timestamp or something.
Yep, there'll be a timestamp. And the proof of signature actually goes down to the exact IP address to who signed it. So if there was ever a question, it could be tracked back. If someone said, no, I never signed that, it will show you. So they'd be able to track it back to the exact computer that it was signed on, the time, everything. So they'd be able to prove whoever signed it. So if you got into one of those deals or a lender for one reason was asking, or a title company wanted proof, you could provide that signature thing
So
with
then
them.
to clarify, if it's signed on California time, it'll put like 12:18 Pacific time.
Okay, one of the other things that I mentioned earlier and I just wanted to touch on is your inbox. You are able to email documents directly into the transaction room. So if someone emails you a purchase agreement and you don't want to download it on your computer and upload it, you can just email it straight in from your account straight into the transaction room. Everybody does have a individual a DocuSign email address that you can send things to that will land in your transaction room. And you can also request a fax number if you prefer to fax. So as you can see, Glenda's is gpits@mail.docusign.net. So anything I email to that is going to end up right in here.
Is that email already set up?
Mhm.
Or
So for that email, if you don't know what it is, you can go under your inbox. It's going to be up in your left-hand corner. If you want to edit it, you do have the option under your inbox details in the settings. The prefix is editable. The postfix is not. The postfix will always be mail.docusign.net. But if you wanted to put first initial last name, or if you want to put Becky Wanick so you remember it,
because I might not remember.
it'll go right. Then you can forward it to that. I've also, in some of the hands-on training we've done, the smaller groups, people have been saving this as a contact in their phone. So if they get something, they can just start typing in. Maybe they save it as DocuSign in their phone. So when they pull up their email, they start typing in DocuSign, and this email address will auto-populate, so they don't have to remember it. And then they'll just send it to the transaction room. You go under My Account, Settings, and then Inbox Details, so you can edit that. So it throws in, like, depending on how many people are out there, with your name. It throws in like your name and some random numbers, but you can edit that as long as no other user has that address. If some other user has that address, obviously you cannot use that.
It doesn't have to have numbers in it.
Nope. So that is a cool way. Another function of this as well is you can, most of the times if we're on the go, we're probably not going to know the transaction ID. But if you do know the transaction ID and you put that as the subject of the email, so let's say we're emailing it from our phone and we know that the transaction ID is pound 50 201, and we put that as the subject, it's going to land straight in the Documents tab instead of in the inbox. Another thing you can do as well is if you put pound PDF in the subject line, any of the communication inside of that email is going to be added as a document as a PDF. So if you wanted to track a conversation and add it into the transaction, you just email that into the transaction or into your inbox with the subject pound PDF, and it's going to take that whole email conversation and turn it as a PDF. So you can save that inside the transaction as well. So if you ever needed to save an email chain, maybe unfortunately it's gone into a lawsuit or something and you wanted to make sure every email was saved, you could send that right into the transaction and have record of that for as long as the file exists.
Can the ID number be changed so that it would have an address name or something?
The ID number cannot be changed. It is auto-populated by the transaction room, so every transaction would have a different ID number. I kind of think of it as like a BLC number. It's auto-populated for each single transaction, so it will not be saved. If you don't know it and you just email, then it's just going to end up in your inbox, and you would just go click in there, and you can do whatever you would like with it as well. Do we have any questions from anybody that's online? No? And those are kind of the basic functions of DocuSign. Again, not everything, but most things that you would do are under the transactions tabs. You can email in. You do have a storage on here, so if you have certain docs you would like to store inside the transaction room so you don't have to upload them every time, you can build out personal storage. The personal storage is personal to your account, so no one else will ever see this. Admin can't see it. No one can see it. And you can make them for whatever you want. So I just, as an example, buyer docs, seller docs. So if maybe you have a seller checklist you like to use on each one of your transactions, you can keep it inside of your documents, and then you would just click on it and click copy, and you'll be able to select under active transactions what transaction you want that to be a part of. You click copy, and now it's a part of that transaction.
So it's in the file.
It's in the file now. So if you have documents that you like to keep inside of every transaction and you don't want to inside each transaction click add, browse my computer, find it, you can store all of those in here as well. Or if you had personal documents that you wanted to store in here just so you had them with you in an electronic copy, you could do that in here as well.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In zip forms, how long are the transactions kept?
Inside of zip forms or inside of the transaction room? I think inside of zip forms, it's as long as you keep them in there. Just like inside of the transaction room, you'll have access to them. I don't want to say till the end of time, but as long as it's up there and running, you will always have access to that.
Will we periodically be required to change our password in DocuSign?
No, you will not be periodically required to change your password. Once you've set it, the only way that you would have to reset it is maybe if you forgot it and you need to go through the steps of resetting it. But it's not going to be like an email account or anything that every 90 days or so prompts you to update. It's a set it and forget it.
Who owns this program?
DocuSign is the actual company that owns the program.
Some smart young person who lives in California.
Exactly.
Company-wise, do you guys lease it from them for use? Or
I honestly don't know that part of it. I know that we have a contract with them, but I don't know the details of how that works.
If it was compromised and we had documents in there that got hacked,
Mm-hmm.
who does what? Because
that would be
on the responsible agent.
Yeah, that would be that would go back on DocuSign, I would think, because they're the ones that it would be their program that was compromised. So they would be.
But would you have, as the operator of their system, who's responsible to who? I mean, when we turn this over to our clients and
Mhm.
it gets compromised, then who's gonna look at who? We are the agents.
They're going to question you guys, and we're going to go to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanna,
Now, all the old files in Zodas,
Uh-huh.
well, it's getting
are they
worse
gonna be
today,
moved
so-
over into
No.
this?
So anything that was active in Zodus or was started in Zodus and was closed in Zodus will stay in Zodus for the required amount of time. So if it's been in there for 5 years, the required time's 7. So if it's been in there for 5 years, it'll stay in Zodus for 2 more years,
And then it just goes
and then
away.
it'll go away.
It goes on and so does stays.
Yep. So anything that was in Zodus will stay there for the 7 years. You will still have access, just nothing will be added into that.
So
So
pretty much you can remember anything from 2015 was in Zodas.
mhm. And then oh yeah.
We are taking any transaction, any closings you have coming in right now that started in Zodas, we are closing them.
In DocuSign, okay. But if you have a file from a year ago that was in DocuSign, it's going to sit.
Right,
I mean,
it's already
in
closed.
Zodus, it's going to sit in there for another 6 years.
Okay.
But we're not importing those into this. You as an agent would have access if you decided there was a file that you wanted to keep inside of here just for your reference. If you didn't still have a paper copy, you could go pull the documents from Zodus and add it in here.
So when we go to closing and we bring back our file and give it to the gals, they'll scan it in and it's gonna go in here, the HUD and everything.
Correct.
And you get the title
Uh huh.
and anything that.
Anything you would need that you've turned in or you've added to this will be there. When the transaction is closed, you can no longer edit anything in there. You can't take anything out of the transaction. You can add additional documents in, but it will show that they were added after closing. So you wouldn't be able to sneak something in there saying, oh, I had this. It will show that it was added after. But when you close it out, anything that's in there can no longer be removed.
So this is a company account, so if we should leave, retire, whatever, this information is not our information, this is a company information.
Correct. But we would still, as a company, we would be required to hold your files for the required amount of time. So the files would still exist, you just would no longer have access to them. Unless you saved personal copies, correct.
Or unless you stay nice. And they won't let you in.
Probably does.
But then you also not have to email, like every time we get to a point where we're sending the office packets, you know what I mean, electronic packets from start to finish,
Mhm.
they'll already have all that.
If you've built it out in the transaction room yourself, they will already have it.
So it's
If
not
you've
like, oh, I'm going to my closing tomorrow, here's some of the missing documents.
Exactly.
They'll
If they were already in there, then they'll have them. When you go to close it, really all you should need to give them is the HUD, the warranty deed, and any of those things that you get at closing that you didn't previously have. Everything else technically should already be in there. You just turn that into them. They'll throw it in here, and the file will
So
be
if you need a
complete.
document closing, you can just have your computer and open it up and
If you
print it
needed
off.
that sales disclosure because you forgot to bring it, you could just print it off right inside of here and have it signed at the closing. Correct. Okay. Thank you, everyone who attended online. We are recording this, so we'll go ahead and send it out this afternoon. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll get them taken care of. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your Thursday. And again, send me any questions that you have. Thanks so much.